Hi there, it's Paula with Dip into Art again. I will guide you through another beginner watercolor painting that is just bursting with character. This is another one of 5 Highlander cow designs in my curated watercolor art kit. The Highlander cows are super fun, super cute to paint with watercolor. I will show you that you can use beginner supplies to paint a very cute, fun design using watercolor. I will get you over to my workspace and I will show you the stuff that is included in your kit. And I will be using exactly what you would receive in your art kit. And I will show you how I render these designs using these beginner watercolors. Let's get started. Okay, we are over here at my workspace. What you'll receive is a pre-printed design on watercolor paper. These sheets of watercolor paper are 8.5 by 11. They are 140-pound or 300 GSM whole pressed watercolor paper. What that means is they hold it very well for 2 watercolors and water and all that good stuff. These are beginner grade watercolor papers. However, they are high quality. So I have not had any issues with these. I love them. They're wonderful. Your printed design is archival ink. What that means is they won't bleed with water. So sometimes ink will bleed when you add water to it. These won't. Your paint set is a beginner watercolor paint set. Very simple palette, 12 colors, watercolor paint. I've used this one for several other designs, and we'll be using this one again today for this Highlander cow. You will also receive a color wheel, and this is just to help you with mixing different colors together to see what color you come up with, and you'll receive that in your art kit. I do have some extra supplies that are not included in the art kit. However, I do use them for most of my watercolor paintings as a technique to create some highlights in my watercolor. So I have a Crayola crayon, a white one. I have a wax resist stick is what this is called. And just a piece of wax. I think I said before in previous videos, you can use just clear wax that does not have any color to use on your watercolor paper. It will act as a resistant to the watercolor and to water, leaving you just the white of the paper, which adds the highlights to your watercolor painting. So you can use just a piece of wax or a crayon, a wax crayon. If you have some wax resistant sticks like I do here, you could use one of these as well. Those are 3 options you can use. You can use, obviously, if there's more options, you can use those, but those are the 3 that I have as options. What I will be doing is using these first before I lay down any color, any water, to mark out areas in the Highlander cow where I might want some highlights. So what I mean by highlights, obviously we want highlights in our painting, light reflecting off the painting. So in the Highlander cow, let's say we're going into the sunflowers and we have these little speckles here. We might want to mark out some of these areas where the speckles are as a highlighted area. So we lay down wax and you won't have to worry about painting around white, painting around the white space, or what they call negative painting. And we can just use wax and it will resist the water and the color. So what I'm doing here is just going around in this Highlander cow design and just sort of scratching out some highlights where I think I might want some, maybe in the leaves and want some dashes of highlights. So all of these are just leafy areas in the Highlander cow, maybe some on the sunflower, the top, maybe down here. And these are supposed to be just real fun, real loose, beginner friendly watercolor designs. And I'm just going over with my wax resist stick. And I'll go ahead and use the crayon so I can show you this works as well. This is some of the Highlander cow's fur poking out. So maybe I'll have some highlights up here. Have some highlights on the Highlander cow's horns. Maybe one along the top edge going off the paper here. Let's see, maybe we'll have some more in the fur here and here. We're just making some squiggly lines, following the design lines, if you will, and just marking out some highlights of the Highlander cow. And then once we're done with that, we can get right to painting this cutie. Maybe around the tip of its nose, in the nostrils a little bit, maybe along the fur here, a couple spots. Sometimes I can't remember where I put my highlights, so I just sort of keep going with it. Either way, I think it'll look nice. Obviously in the eyes, very important, you have highlights in the eyes. So definitely mark those out. If for some reason you don't have a wax crayon or a wax piece of wax, and I'll even use this one to show you, I'll just scrape some along, maybe some fur down here. You can, if you have masking fluid, you could use masking fluid. That looks like, let's see if I have some. That looks like maybe some of this I have. And this is like a gum. You have to wait for it to dry, but you can lay this down on your watercolor paper and mask out the areas that you want highlighted. Wait for that to dry before you paint if you have this. It's another resist fluid, and then you scrape it off when you're done painting. Also, that's another tip I was going to say. I can't remember, but what was I going to say about masking fluid? So masking fluid, but if you don't have any of those supplies, you can use white acrylic paint. I think I have a little dabble of it somewhere. This is a little thing of acrylic paint that I have. It's just white. No, this is, yeah, bleed-proof white. And you can use that to mark out after you're done painting your highlights. Okay, so what we're going to get started with first is we're going to start with our lightest values. So our lightest colors on this cow. And the background's going to be pretty dark, so I'm going to save the background on this one for last. I could do the sunflowers, I could do the horns, I could do the nose and the fur. All that is pretty light in the leaves. So why don't we start with the sunflowers? So we're going to do some yellowy mix for the sunflowers. And for your setup, you'll want a cup of clean water, obviously your paint palette, and a paper towel or any kitchen towel. And we can get started with those supplies. And for my sunflowers, I will start with a yellow mixture. So my palette never really stay very clean. All you have to do is just mix, and I'm going to go right into the green area here and add some water. Just water it down, pick up that dried watercolor on there. You'll see that's kind of a limey green. We could actually go into the leaves with this. That would be pretty. So let's do that. Since I've got that color on there, maybe add a little bit more yellow, and we can go into the leaves. And let's just paint a light layer of the leaf on here. So you can choose like, oh, I like that color. You could just go straight in with that color that you mixed and add it to your painting wherever it applies. And since we're in the green, I do have another darker green here that I had mixed up previously, and another painting. I'll go in here, maybe add a touch more of this dark green next. This is a light green, it's hard to see. A lighter green and a darker green right here. And while we're painting the leaves, we can just add some dark while it's wet along maybe the edges, like this, and just let it kind of flow in there. Okay. So sometimes you plan on doing something first and then you end up doing something else. So this one, since I had mixed up that limey green with the yellow, I decided to go ahead and do the leaves. And so wherever you see the leaf shapes poking out, just go ahead and lay down that color and vary your colors up a bit from light to dark so that they look more natural or more 3D. We're not really going for realistic painting here. We're just adding color to this design. But you can make those colors really pop and those shapes really pop by adding light and dark values to those shapes. So we'll go in just like that. You can see that I did get quite a bit of wax on that leaf. See how it's resisting the color? Not quite on there. And some highlights right there. So that's what wax will do. It will resist the color and the water. If you want a little bit more yellow, you could drop some yellow in while it's still wet This is all, well, I started with wet on dry, which means I put wet paint on dry paper. But if it's wet, you can drop more color in and let it mix naturally. Okay, so we got the leaves. Very simple. Leaves are done. Let's go back into our yellow and start scooping out a lot of this yellow color. So I'm a scooper. I'm a scooper when it comes to watercolor paint. Scoop, scoop, scoop. And I'll find a spot and just keep scooping until I get a bright yellow. You can even add some orange to your sunflowers. Become an orange yellow. So I'm not too worried about the green mixing in there. I think it'll add a nice touch, but I'm going to add just a touch of orange. And since these paint pans are dry, you want to use a lot of water to activate the paint. If you don't have which I could use, I always forget that I have my squirt bottle. I always get into painting, I'm like, wait, I gotta wet my palette. But you can wet your palette just by squirting them down with a spray bottle. This is a little spritzer bottle. Or you can just dip into your water and dip into your pans and go from there. So I've got this orange and this yellow mixture. So I'll go right in to the sunflowers with that color. And just keep dropping color in as I go around. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just paint in the shapes. Maybe a touch more yellow in some of these. And you can go outside the lines on these. The lines are just there as a guide. You can just paint around them too and outside the lines. Maybe my other sunflower is going to have a bit more yellow. And just keep going through this process just like this. Painting more sunflowers. If you feel your yellow is too bright, you can tone it. It looks very bright on my screen. It's not as bright to my eyes. Let's see if I can adjust some of this. There we go. I think that was my lighting. That's more true to what I've got going on. And you can drop bits of orange in each of these. Just grab some, oops, it's a lot of orange. Grab some orange on your paintbrush and just drop it in. And we're going to go ahead and do this. And these are just fun designs. And then we can go into this next one, maybe with just some bright yellow. And go around the leaves with it. Sort of in between the lines are sort of like the shadows. And we'll get to that in a minute. I got a little bit of green from that leaf, and that's okay. We can just take a cleanish brush, rinse it off, tap it off a bit, and wipe it up. So you don't want any green in there. Or you can use it, drag some green down as sort of a shadowy color. Okay. I'm going to go in here and right up to his horns, fur horns. You can definitely see in this one where the wax is resisting the water and the watercolor. And this guy's, this little shape is sort of a triangle shape, part of the sunflower. And then from here, we'll go straight into the brown, add it to the yellow. And if there's green in there too, that's okay. It's not going to hurt anything. So we're going to do a light wash of brown inside the circle of the sunflower. Just real quick, get it down there. Not using a whole lot of water on these. Go ahead and get. If it bleeds and blends a little bit with the other colors, that's okay. And we can take some darker, just straight out of the pan, some darker brown, and just tap it in around these, sort of the center and up in the edges. And watercolor does dry darker than when you put it on, so you put it on, you think it looks too dark, it's probably not. And then we'll just drop some more spots in there, like this. All I'm doing is tapping with my brush, grabbing some pigment from the pan, and just tapping it in there, or swooping it around the edge. Okay. And then we'll go right into the Highlander Cow's horn. So we're going to mix up this creamy color here. It's got a touch of pink in there still from a previous painting, and I don't mind that, because I might want to use that. And do a touch of brown. And I will get the horn wet first, just a wet brush. Scoop some water onto the paper, drag it along. If you get yellow or anything that's bleeding into it, that's okay. It adds to the watercolor effect. See how that yellow's bleeding there? And then I'm going to start from the tip and just drop this color along mostly the bottom edge of the horn. And you don't need a lot of color or a lot of pigment for this, just a little bit. If there is too much yellow, to me it looks like a little shadow from the sunflowers. You could just wipe it off with a clean, dry brush. Dry brush is a thirsty brush, but I do like it. Adds some highlights to his or her horns there. And maybe I'll add just a touch more down here. And go all the way up to the tip. Now I've got some wax up there, so it's not going to add color to the wax. If I go outside the lines, I'm okay with that because the background is going to be dark. Horn in view. Okay, so I think that looks good. And then we'll do the little piece of horn that's sticking out here. Still, it doesn't look like I have a lot, but I still have some on there. And I'm going to go ahead and get that on this next horn. Maybe a little bit more shadowy color. A little bit too much, just wipe the brush off and swoop it around. And you'll see there's some gaps in between the flowers. And what we can do with that is take a darker value of yellow. So how we're going to do that is mix up a little bit of yellow, mix up with a little bit of that brown, make it sort of a brownish yellow color. And we can go in between, make sure it's dark enough, go in between with these sort of the highlighted edges of the sunflower. Or not highlight, I keep saying highlighted, the shadows of the sunflower. A little bit of maybe some shadowy color going around the edges. Just swooping your brush along. Along these shapes. A bit more. makes them pop a bit. And everything will come together in the end. If you don't like them, the start, don't worry about it. It will come together. And do maybe around here. Maybe a bit more yellow and brown. Just keep dipping in your color. You need color to paint. Oh, oops. I always say don't be afraid of color. Put it in there. You can always mix it all up. Maybe we'll do some darker values inside of here. We'll see how it makes all of these sunflowers just come to life. As you're doing your brush strokes, go along the shape of the flower. Don't do straight lines. Curve your lines around. All I'm doing is just adding another layer of color real quick. Not too much on some of them. They don't all have to be the same. And we'll see if I can get you. Sunflowers are looking pretty cute. And then maybe we work on the leaves just a tad bit more. So we'll do this darker, like a viridian color. And we'll mix that with some of this green, lighter green. And if it's not dark enough, you can add just a touch of black. And what I'm going for is some darker edges around the leaves. Just sort of give them a little pop. And I'm just going to go around the lines, the design that's on here. Okay. Just pop another darker value right in there. Now there's a white space right here. You can leave it like that, or you can make a leaf out of it. I'm going to leave it just like that. And I think that's good. So next we'll go ahead and go into, I'm going to do his nose, or her nose. I keep saying his, because it's going to be a real pinky nose. Pinky, peachy nose. And we'll go ahead and drop some water in there. And spread it around this nose area. We're going to start with this creamy color again. And we'll add a touch of red. We'll pale that red out. Don't need a lot. And creamy color. And maybe just a touch of brown. And we'll drop that right into the nose. And as you can see, as I'm painting or using my palette, I'm not activating some of the darker colors that are in there. They'll just sit there until you activate them with water. I'm just using any space that I have on my palette for a light color. Typically you want your lights with your lights, but I'm a rule breaker. And I'm not too worried about going outside the lines either, because her fur is going to be a bit darker. And then we'll get into the nostrils after this dries. We'll go in with black on that. Okay, for the fur, we will do some brown. Here's a nice pile of brown. This gal's got a lot of fur. Okay, we are going to mix up some brown colors for his fur, her fur. I keep saying his. I do that all the time. I'm going to do a big puddle of brown. Just scraping along this pigment in here, scooping it out, a lot on my brush, putting it in the palette. We're going to do a nice puddle of brown, a nice puddle of brownish purple, and I go right into this purple right on the other side of it, mix up a darker value of brown. So we're going to be working with a couple brownish colors here. I'll do this dark purpley brown. Add some more brown. And we'll just keep mixing until we got two values. We've got a lighter brown and a darker brown. I'm going to throw a little bit of purple in there. But I'm going to have a purplish background, so I think it'll look nice. If it's not dark enough, add maybe some red in the mix around here. Add some red. So I'm just getting some big puddles of light and dark brown. And what we'll do is we'll go right into the fur with these two values. Maybe a touch of red in this brown. And we'll go into the fur just right in there. Throwing a little bit of pink. So I'm going to, because of the red, I'm going to add some more brown to it. I'll just sort of mix it right in. And we're just going to go around where the outlines are. And I can see where I have my wax resistant. So it'll leave some highlights in the cow's fur. We're just going to do the fur right now. Just laying down some of this color. If you get a little bit of color into the face area, that's okay. We're going to use a very light value for the face anyway, so we can just go ahead and spread that out. And make it very light with water. Okay. And we're going to go right over all of this. Right where your outlines are at. Okay. Get some, actually everything sort of mixed together on my palette. That's okay. I'll show you if that happens. Just happened to me. We're going to just keep going into some color and adding color as we go. And just getting some color down. That's all we're doing is getting some color down. So this area would be the back of the cow right through here. We'll just scrub some color in there. Just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and just blend a light pink out around the nose. And go right into there. And we're going to shape his nose into a mouth. Just like this. Okay. Just grab some color and shape it. I'm going to go around the eye area. Maybe a light wash around the eye. You can even go into the eye because that is going to be a dark black color. And just get that sort of mixed in there. I'm going to grab a lot more brown because I do not have enough of it. And just start pouring more brown into the Highlander cow's fur, letting the lighter color lead with this brown. So it's all about, when you're painting, your lights and your darks, and just using them to your advantage. No matter what colors you're using. Okay. So, and this brown in this palette does throw a very, very warm brown. It means it's got a lot of warm tones to it, like reds, pinks, really. So I'm just going to go wet on dry up into these areas with just the straight brown, maybe mix it a little bit with the colors I have on my palette, and go right up into here and just sort of follow the direction of where the fur would be laying. Okay. I'm sort of going up into the flowers a little bit, and it's okay. So we'll keep that there for a minute and work on down here. So I'm going to wet the body down here with just water. Going around the nose, making a little mouth underneath here as I paint. So down here, we will grab a lot of brown and just start dragging it in from up into where your fur is hanging over the face, down into the body, and around the face. So let's make a face. Keeping the area around the nose light. Just like this. So we're sort of forming the shape of a mouth right here. Cheek area. We'll just keep going with this brown down here like this, up into the fur that's hanging over. Flick your brush in the direction the fur would be going. So we'll say down here, it's coming straight down from the mouth, sort of curving around from the body, and then coming out from the back, and then coming down again. So your brush strokes are important in the direction that you're painting, because it'll give you some idea of where the fur is laying. So for this, around the face, the fur would be laying, swooping this way, this way, this way, then coming straighter and straighter and straighter down by his mouth, her mouth. And we want to just sort of just kind of make a little face outline, just like that. Okay. And if you have some areas that bleed, that's okay. Just take some water and blend it out a bit. So we're going to make a darker value now for the Highlander cow's fur. So I'm going to grab a lot of this brown. Actually, I might put it right here in this blackish blue area I have from my previous painting. Use whatever paint you have on your palette to your advantage. If you have a dark mixture from a previous painting, use it. Just add water and reactivate it. And then add some more color to it. So we're going to use some brown and this black. Okay. Maybe a touch of this purple again. Okay, so that looks pretty good to me. And I've always said you should have a test your colors on a scrap piece of paper before you lay them down. Might be helpful. Or a scratch piece of watercolor paper, preferably the same watercolor that you're using, watercolor paper that you're using. That would help. So I'm going to keep mixing until I like the dark color that I have. And I'm going to go back into this lower body in sections with this dark color that I have mixed. Keep adding if you need to. We're just going to flick some color into here on the body. like this. Very free, very loose. So it'll go back and forth. We're getting some darker values in here. Maybe add a little bit more black, go in between, or you just lay down or right on top and let it sort of mix and blend. And the painting is starting to dry off a bit, and that's okay. The more dry it is, the more the color will stay in place and not blend. So maybe we'll go, this is still pretty wet up here, but we'll add some dark values in between where the fur that's laying over the body is separating. Gives you that separation. And then we'll do a little bit in the back, just like this. Okay. Separate those layers of fur. Then if you wanted to blend a little bit of all those colors together, you come down to the bottom, you could just take some water and grab that paint and bring it down. I like the rough edges on these pieces, but you can do whatever you want. So I'm going to add a darker value now into the fur that's laying over the face, but I'm going to tint it a bit with red and black and brown. The red will help bring it a bit more forward. You can even add an orange color to this. And we just are looking for a darker. So that's about the same. So we want to go a little bit darker. So I'm going to grab some more pigment, some more red, just a lot of pigment this time, less water, some black, maybe a touch of purple. And I think we've got a nice darker value. And then we'll just go around and shape out this fur a little bit. Under the sunflowers, go under and swoop. Under the sunflowers and swoop. Sort of under the sunflowers and swoop. And then we can go the other direction, this way. Leave the light value showing through. Swoop, swoop. Under the sunflower and swoop. Under and swoop. So it's really showing you here that the direction your paintbrush goes really shows the direction of the fur. Okay, we swoop under like this and then down. Under like this and then down. Getting under those sunflowers will really help pop the sunflowers out and define your fur area. Okay, and the sunflowers are coming down. And we'll just keep doing that. Might need another bottle of colors, so brown, some black, some red, some purple. And they don't have to be the exact same mixture. Actually adds a bit to it if it's not. A bit of color change. We'll go around the eye. This eye area here. Let these feather out a bit. And do the same thing over here on the left side. Just keep working with your brush strokes going under the sunflowers and swooping down. Swoop. Under and swoop. Okay? Sort of under and swoop. With a little bit more color. Add a bit more water. And getting that mixture a bit darker. Under and swoop. Under the horns and swoop. Now you can keep the face just like this light pinky hue, or you can add some yellow and some brown mixture. Maybe I'll use this yellow and brown mixture over here. Maybe a touch of pink. Just as long as it's lighter than what you have laid down on the fur, it'll work. And then we can go around just an outline like that. Just start with the color, use some water, tickle the lines, and blend it out a bit. Just like that. And let's go around his nose with some of this color. I have some wax on my paper and take the lines and tickle the lines and blend it out a bit. Blending means you're pulling the color out and moving it around the rest of the painting. If you've lost your color on your brush, just pick it up and go around your painting. I'll wet this down a bit and drop some more color down here. And pull it all out. Okay. I've got a little bit of bleed into the nose area, which dried very light. So I'm just going to take the tip of my brush with just some clean water and just buff it out a little bit. And let that be a shadow. Can lay just some plain water over the nose and sort of blend all the colors together if it bled. And then we'll go into the eye area. And we will go ahead and add some more of this mixture, maybe a tad bit more yellow. Right in here. And darken that up just a bit. Maybe buff out some lines if we need to. Just the tip of our brush. And blend the color into the cow. So you'll have a mixture of colors going on here, which is not a bad thing. Just remember that. Maybe we'll darken her chin up down here, since that's coming forward a bit, like that. Or has a shadow. And then we'll let this dry, and we'll go into the background. After the background, oh, we forgot some fur up here. I forgot some fur up here. So we'll just go right in, just like this. If you forget a spot on your design, I often do sometimes. That's where it helps to take a step back and look at your painting and say, did I miss anything? And sure enough, you'll see sometimes you miss some things. So we're just going to add some fur color, texture, just like that. Maybe add just some extra brown. And you can keep adding to the fur area with lights and darks. I'll show you. Like, let's say we wanted to go in with maybe some straight black to really break up this fur. You can just do that and do some gentle strokes along the fur with some black, maybe while it's still a bit damp. And it will blend out a bit. And it'll give you some more texture. Okay, could do that at any point. And maybe we add some to the back area of this dark black that's coming down. Separate that a bit. See how it separates everything? You can even do, since this is still damp, maybe we'll just go in and do it up here as well. And we'll do the tips, separate to the tip. Try to keep your lights light. Try not to go over those. If your brush is drying out, a little bit of water. The movement of your brush is important. Which direction is the fur going? You can just follow the outline and say, well, I see a line here, so it's going that way. And just take your brush and follow the lines. And you'll start to see it come together. And even right here, maybe just the tips and the top, real quick strokes. The top maybe on that one. Maybe a little bit darker around the eye area. The paint's pretty dry, so I'm going to wet it down, wet this down a bit more. If it's dry, your paint won't flow. You want it to flow, of course. All right. And since the nose area is dry, why don't we just go ahead and paint her nostrils? We're just going to go in with a straight, ooh, a lot of water. There's a lot of water in the brush and it's pulling up, just dry it off a bit. Use the water that's on the paper and spread out the paint. And then grab some more pigment and add it on there. And I've got some nostrils. I think the eye is dry enough. We can go right in. My paper's drying off pretty quick. And just go around this eye shape and fill it in. Like that. And I thought I had some wax resist. I have a little bit on there. I don't know why it's not showing through so much. Maybe when it dries, it'll show more. But if you're worried about it, take a little tear of your paper towel and dab out some highlight. Highlights are important. Maybe I'll do a little bit on the nostril area. Looks like a boot. If you don't want it to look like a boot, you can always just fill it in. There. It looked like a boot to me. And dab out some highlights. Maybe a little bit more. There. Okay, now we'll get to the fun part. And we'll paint the background in very loose, loose painterly style, if you will. And do you know what? I forgot some fur over here as well. Oh my goodness, this happens when you're painting and you're just going with it. And look at it and say, did I forget anything? And the answer for me is usually yes, you forgot. So we'll fix those spots and just add some fur. Simple as that. If y'all are watching, you probably caught it before me. You forgot the fur. I'm going to add some more darker values up here. And I was drying off a bit so I could go ahead and go into it and layer it a bit. Some more color, maybe some more dark brown. All right. So for the background, I'm going to make it very painterly. So we're using a small brush because that's what comes in the kit. If you had a bigger brush, you could use it and probably paint faster. But we'll do sort of sections at a time. Maybe half over here and go right up into the body shape, right up into the first shape. If you grab color and it's already wet, that's okay. If it spreads, it'll add to the painterly look. You can see some of my color spreading from the fur, and that's okay. I'm going to go all the way up. Probably, we'll see how far we can get. I want this to be wet on wet. I want the paper to stay pretty wet while I do the background. And we're going to have a very pink and purpley background. So I'm going to use this bright pink and put it over in this well with this turquoise color. I'm just going to activate the turquoise color because it'll turn it purple. We're going to be using purple and pink anyway. Well, it's more like a purplish gray, but that's okay. Just add more pink and the color will come back. So I'm going to do some pink. I'm doing this a little bit quick because I do not want the paper to dry. I want these colors to bleed and blend. Bleed and blend. We're going to do the pink and the purple. I'm going to grab some more purple and some more pink. And if you want a really bright pink, you can just go straight into your pigment and drop it into your wet paper. If it's starting to dry on, you just drop some more water before it dries completely. And grab your pigment and spread it around. Help it spread. It should spread on its own since it's wet. But if it doesn't, you can help it along. You'll grab some purple. We'll go right in with the purple. Sort of inside where her fur is. Grab some more pink. And go along the body. And since it's very warm and very dry air in here, the paper is going to dry pretty quick. So I'm going to try to work real quick and just drop more water in here. Paper is already drying. Pink and purple. That's what we're going for. Pink and purple background. If you want more pink than purple, add more pink. If you want more purple than pink, add more purple. Wait, if you want more pink than, how did I say that? More pink than purple, add more pink. If you want more purple than pink, add more purple. I confused myself. So we're just going to splashy background here. Rough edges on the paper. And get this paper more wet up here. And we're going to just splash down some of this purple. I'm going to go straight into the pigment with the pink up here. come along the horns, down this side here and up and around. And let it all just blend and bleed. If it's not spreading enough, it's because the paper is drying very quick. So just add more water. Okay. I think I want some more purple right here. Just make your mark. It will dry different than what you put on. It'll settle into the paper. And you can just sort of scrumble around. Add your pinks and purples in between each other, on top of each other, doesn't matter. We're just going for that real fun pink and purple background. Okay, and then we're going to do the top section here. I will drag up some of this pink, pull it around the horn, and do the same thing. Around, drop some pink, maybe right here. Grab some more of my purple right here. Maybe straight into the pan with the purple, give you a darker value. And for the background, of course, you can use any color mixture you want. But we're going to do pink and purple on this one. And if you get into the sunflower area, just go around the sunflowers. And if it bleeds, that's okay. Not going to hurt anything. So we're going to grab some more pink here, make it very pink against the yellow and the green. A touch of purple coming down, like so. And then we'll go into these sections here. And this is a chance to sort of scrub out any lines that you may have gotten outside the lines. This paper picks up paint pretty well. In other words, if it's already dried and you want to lift off some color, you can. And it's the pigment as well. I'm going to add a little bit more pink right here. And that up and around. Maybe in this little section. And just keep going around with our background, around the design. And if you get into your design lines or your paint that you've already painted in the Highlander, it's okay. I'm going to repeat that. It's going to be okay. It just adds to your painterly effect of this Highlander Cow. Okay, and then we'll go down underneath here. I have a lot of water on my brush. I'm going to sop some up because it's pretty much pooling on the paper, and we don't want it. So just kind of scoop some of it up. Have some more pink. And a touch of purple in this area. Just crumble those colors around. See how that's drying nicely and flat. Let's see if we can, there we go. You can just go around the outline, fiddle with it a little bit if you need to. And take a look at your painting and see if there's anything else you would like to add or take away. Like if you wanted to outline this in pen, wait for everything to dry and outline your design in a waterproof or archival pen. Let's see, over here, something like a micron pen, and you can do like an ink and wash. so you can outline everything in ink, and that would look really nice. You can go back over, say, the inside of the sunflowers and dabble some more brown in there to give it some more dimension. See how that gives it some more dimension, makes it look more 3D. So at this point, when they're dry, you could do stuff like this. Okay. You can add more details. I'm just dotting in straight pigment of brown onto the sunflowers on the center, and it gives it more depth. And you can do the same thing all around the painting as you look at it. If you need to add more color or more detail, this is the time to do it. When it's dry and you've done all your basic wash of colors, you can go back in and add some more detail. And there is the Highlander Cow with sunflowers. I will be painting the next two here and have those up here hopefully by the end of today, and these will be available for you to look at anytime and to watch, and to, if you order the kits, you can go back through the videos and see how I rendered these designs and do what I do, or make it your own. All right. Well, we will see you next time, and I will clean up here, and then we'll get started on the next one. If you're interested in ordering the watercolor art kits, I have curated 2 separate art kit designs with that are available through the summer. So those are available on my website, and I will link that in the description at the end of this video. All right, we'll see you next time.